Hello, hello, hello. Are you an infant teacher or an infant parent? Do you have an infant at home and do you wonder what to do with them? And do you struggle with how to make, just play and game and fun with them and how do you engage with the little one? My name is Prerna Richards and I'm a behavior coach. Today, I am delighted to invite my daughter, Chetna, to join us in this conversation. And Chetna, will you introduce yourself? Why are you on this podcast to talk about infants?
Sure, yes. I have two daughters. One is 11 years old and in fifth grade, and the other is about to turn 16 months old. So this is very relevant to me right now, having just gone through the first year of Emma's life. Yeah, and I'm super
What do you
excited to be
do
here.
professionally so people can frame it?
Sure. I'm an associate creative director, so in the creative arts world.
So early childhood is not your jam.
It is not my jam, but
But you're
I'm
good
very
at it.
thankful.
But you're good at it. You're good at
I
it. You're
have
good.
I have a lot of help from you and sister, and I have
No,
a good community.
I totally admire you and your sister being amazing mothers. I'm so in awe of how you become mothers and you're so responsive with the children. And that's why I wanted to invite you because I admire the way you're so responsive to them. And so, what I thought we could do today is talk about three nuggets. If babies could talk, what would they tell us? Or if there's a new parent who's just starting this life with parenting, what would help them to be successful? Or if you're a teacher in the infant classroom, how would you set up the babies for success? Because we know that 90% of the brain development happens by age 5. So that first year is critical contribution to that 90%, right? So because there's this myth that, oh, the learning happens when you're 3. And what do I do with you when you're under 2? Like anything? Don't know what to do with you, right? So we're dispelling that myth that's a myth, and we have to be intentional how we can give all children the best start in life. So we have three nuggets, and the first one, I think I would call it tell, don't do. Would you like to elaborate on that? What is that?
Sure. I think this, it came out recently through two instances that was, kind of an aha moment. So the first example is, and I can't recall how old Emma was at the time. I imagine she was around 5, 6 months. And, doing as we do, we putting her on the changing table, changing her diaper. And, one day she starts resisting putting on the diaper. I'm like, okay, this is new. Um, so working through that, and I realized, if I just tell her, Emma, can you please lie down? I'm going to change your diaper now, and show her the diaper. And it just went so much smoother. There was no fight back. There was no kind of, turning over or, and even when I said, Emma, can you lie down? She laid down on the changing mat. And I was just like, whoa, okay, she understands what I need to make this happen, and it was a really cool experience to see that kind of like, okay, she understands what's happening and she doesn't want to just be not thrown around, but just,
But
forced to do
that's
something.
yeah, but that's a very like you were the only one who's had a baby resisting diaper change, right? That never happens to anybody.
Yeah.
That never happens to anybody. Uh, but what I liked about that was that in the moment, you didn't force yourself on her. You gave her the space, you processed it, and you allowed her to process it herself. And we talk about this insecure, anxious brain, right? That kicks in when somebody does something to us. So again, that was a very respectful way of taking care of her. And I think that's at the heart of this conversation. How can we become respectful as parents and educators to give them the best start in life, recognizing that they understand more than we know? You said you had two examples.
Yeah, so the other one, she was around 8 months old and she had begun teething. And so we were giving her these little capsules of homeopathic liquid to help calm her gums. and she was turning her head. I'm trying to shove it in her mouth, and she's, it's all dripping out, and I'm like, oh gosh. So then again, I was just like, okay, Emma, we're gonna take this medicine now, and I'm gonna put it in your mouth, okay? Um, and then she just opened her mouth and I put it in, and I was like, of course, it just seemed so obvious, like, okay, we need to treat these children, these babies, with the same respect you would treat any other human, and
You
it
wouldn't
goes
shove
a
anything in
long way.
anybody's mouth.
No, no.
You would
Yeah,
totally
but for
not.
whatever reason, you think, for kids, it's just like, eat
Yeah.
this, but
And we do
babies.
it all the time. We do it all the time. I've seen it happen all the time. We do
Mhm,
things to children that we would never do to another grown-up. And this has
mhm,
to stop. This has to
mhm,
stop, guys. This has to stop. It needs to be respectful. If you're going to do something to a child, just ask yourself the question, would I do that to another grown-up? And if the answer is no, then you're on the wrong path. Don't do it. Don't do it, right? Um, there's a big movement going on right now because I hear this all the time, and maybe you've heard of this, gentle parenting. Are you familiar with
mhm.
this concept of gentle
Yes,
parenting?
yes.
And what are your thoughts about that?
Um, I think there are a lot of good things about gentle parenting, mainly the understanding of emotions and giving the children a voice. However, I do feel like sometimes the boundaries get lost and the children start to walk all over the parents very quickly. So,
So ego comes
um,
up, right?
mhm.
And you can't parent with a child whose ego is getting boosted because their brain hasn't developed fully yet. And you're still the parent. You still have to hold boundaries. And no means no. And yes, they're upset and they can handle it. And you can tell them that I understand you really want this. I understand, but you can handle it. You can handle it. So holding boundaries, being consistent, following through, are the downsides of doing gentle parenting. I have nothing against gentle parenting. Yes, by all means, please be gentle, but also be respectful. Respectful with boundaries for you as the parent, respectful for them being the infant. And so, yeah. And so, what about the nugget number two? Talk with, not at.
Mm. Yeah, I just, again, just they're listening more than you think they are, and you know, what you say around them repeatedly is what they're going to pick up on. And I think this was made painfully aware to us when Emma's first words were, "Hey Google." It's just a reflection of our home, and that we say, "Hey Google," to turn on the music. And um and and funny, but it just, again, a reminder that, like, wow, she is putting things together, and what we're saying in language is really important. And um yeah, and I think, making sure that the words and vocabulary that you're using is diverse, and that you're actually not speaking at them or using um, the same word just over, like hi, 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 over and over, but you're actually kind of labeling things for them, and talking a lot.
Which is a conversation, right? Which is what happens
Mhm,
back and forth, serve and return. There's many words for this, right? The dance,
mhm,
give, we talk, we listen, and that's a very innate human quality. We all need conversations. And remember that receptive language comes before expressive language. So the wiring of the brain is happening with the receptive language, even though they can't express it yet. The connections are being made. And that's why it's so critical that we give them a wide range of labeled emotions. We give them a wide range of vocabulary, juicy words, use big words, use them, introduce them to astonishing and amazing and gigantic and whatever it is, like really give them the juicy words because they're listening, they're learning, they're picking up. And I think the last nugget I would say is so critical that we follow their lead. Do you want to talk a bit more about that? How does that show up?
yeah, I think um when I think of following their lead, I'm thinking, following their interests, which I feel like, with Ava, um, it was so easy to follow her interests. She was always been very creative and likes to draw. But what I found even now through Emma, when you follow their lead, it also gives back to you in a way where, you get a little bit of time to do whatever you need to do, just because they're so invested or intrigued in what they're doing. And so, just a recent example of Emma, she's really finding brushing her teeth really fun. And she can be in front of the mirror or on the floor with her toothbrush for a good 10 minutes, which really allows me time to make lunch or get dressed or whatever I need to do. But I think in following their interests, it just all flows much more easily, I guess.
So what you're talking about is brain engagement, right? When I'm curious,
Mhm.
when I'm intrigued, when I'm excited, when I'm learning, when I'm figuring it out, my brain is fully there and I'm not having meltdowns. I'm not giving you pushbacks. I'm fully engaged because this is exciting to my brain. And you said she's in this phase right now. She's probably trying to master it. Or maybe she's already mastered it, right? But she's
Mhm.
enjoying the discovery of it yet. And so that goes
Mhm.
on. I wanted to circle back with the rich vocabulary. I think it's also very helpful to give children some simple phrases. I need help, I need a hug, or hold me. Because these are the three ones that I feel like children need but don't have the vocabulary to ask. Do you want to add to that a bit, how you've seen it happen in your family?
Yeah. So Ava would say when she wanted to be held or hugged, she touch is one of her love languages for sure. And she still holds my hand to this day. So giving her that vocabulary that, I need to be held when I'm feeling stressed or anxious early on really helps things as well. Um, with Emma, I think, she um, can already do deep breathing, which we discovered while reading a book. So,
I was amazed at that. I was amazed. And I think she's
yeah.
maybe barely 8 or 9 months. And this book, which is don't touch the button or don't push the button.
Mhm.
It has a
Mhm.
thing in it, take a deep breath. And she does it.
Mhm.
It's
Mhm.
just mind blowing. If why would
Yeah.
not using deep breaths with young babies? Like they could do it.
Yeah. Yeah. So maybe for her, it's not so much, okay, now take a deep breath, but it's going, and then she copies, and so, yeah, using both language and our actions to kind of give them the tools.
Yeah, but I would even add to that, you're feeling a little overwhelmed. You're
Mm.
hungry and you're getting
Mhm.
impatient. Let's take a deep breath,
Mhm.
right? That would
Mhm.
make sense that I'm feeling
Mhm.
impatient is why I'm getting antsy. But you've labeled it. You've grown up, understand what's happening. You've labeled it.
Mhm.
And the other
Mhm.
day, I remember when she was fussing on the floor and you were cutting up an orange and
Mhm.
you just needed to tell her, I haven't forgotten about you. I'm cutting up the orange. I'm going to show you the orange. It's for you. And I think that goes such a long way when we can just communicate and show and explain rather than talking at them and rather than
Mhm.
with them and following their leads, right? It makes parenting
Mhm.
easy, makes educating easy. Why do you want to make it
Mhm.
hard on yourself? Make it easier. It's already the hardest
Mhm.
job.
Yep.
I mean, parenting is the hardest job, educating is the hardest job, but it's the most meaningful job. You're impacting the next generation, you're doing brain development. This is going to take them for the rest of their life. Remember, 90% of the brain is getting wired by 5. So you
Mhm.
can't ignore the first year. It can't start in second and third year. It starts birth, it starts prenatal, it starts earlier. So we wanted to record this for Mother's Day. So happy, happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there. You're doing amazing. Keep going. And you got this. And you're not alone. Mothering is the hardest thing.
Yes. Yes. Mothering and being a teacher. It's all hard.
Yeah. It's
But
true.
yes.
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 Well, thank you, Chaitna, for joining. This was fun.
Thank
And
you. And
yeah,
happy Mother's Day to everyone. It's just it's a treat to be on here with you and
thank you.
yeah.
You so much. And if you liked it, subscribe to it, share it with others. You can share it with your families, you can share it with the educators. It's really, if infants could talk, what would they tell us, right? This is coming from an infant's perspective. And we can create a kinder, compassionate world for our children and a more respectful parenting rather than just throwing in the towel and saying, which happens, by the way. So thank you for joining. Till next time, take care. Bye for now.